Okay, so welcome once again to our Flash NFPA 70E 2018. As I just mentioned, the code, the NFPA 70E has kind of latched onto the same revision schedule that NEC has had for a long period of time. As long as I can remember, they've been on 3-year revision schedule, and so and the NFPA 70 for a while was kind of arbitrary. They were revising the NFPA 70 sometimes every 2 years, and then 3 years, and then there was a long lull, and then finally they've latched onto the same revision schedule as the NEC or NFPA 70. So this is the latest version of the code, and I know some people call it a standard. I call it the code because if I find myself standing in the court of law defending something that I've done, designed, or provided advice on, then I know there are folks who think that they probably can defend themselves without the NFPA 70E if there was an arc flash incident involved. I'm among the majority, if not most, of the folks who would rather rely on code or standards published by NFPA 70E. So I take it as a code, as the law. So all right. So as far as a little bit of information about us, you see our website down below, and we do all kinds of seminars, and I'll mention some of those that might kind of serve as references for some material that we might cover through the course of the day, and mention some of the seminars that are coming up that might be of help to you or your other associates that you can pass the information on to. So this is what the screen you're looking at right now is if you were to get the NFPA 70E in print, which I don't have a printed copy. I didn't buy the printed copy. I have been getting basically the electronic handbooks. That's what I keep as far as on my computers, as far as the NEC NFPA 70 is concerned, as well as NFPA 70E. And I'm assuming that all of you have acquired the NFPA 70E. If somebody hasn't, please put that in the chat area so I'll know that. And thank you for John has shared his background, mechanical engineer by training, has worked in electrical utility arena. So thank you for doing that, and excellent. So just scrolling through. I have to do a little bit of cockpit management here, so when it slows us down, sometimes I have to make sure that I'm covering the chat area as we go along, so we don't get too far behind in answering your questions. So you can post the questions in the chat area, or you can just take your phone off mute. And if you posted something in the chat area and I've not responded, please just take your phone off mute and chime in. The reason we try to okay, John, thank you, appreciate that. And I'm going to take you through it. We're going to go through it live here. So if you won't be missing much. But obviously, if you, depending upon how involved you want to get in the implementation of NFPA 70E, you might need to go ahead and invest in the NFPA 70E handbook, which is what I advise. Go for the handbook, not the pure code, because the handbook has lots of very valuable, informative illustrations in them, and pictures and diagrams and case studies, which are quite impactful. And most of you after this program, and may already, you probably didn't even have to wait. Many of you didn't have to wait for this program to have gone through this program that we're going to go through today to know that how important, know the gravity of this, of arc flash. But you may find yourself in a situation where you have to persuade others who work with you or under you, or sometimes people who you report to make a point and to basically get their ear. And so and when you're doing that, you obviously the uh, information that we're going to share with you. I think you're going to find that helpful, and that's why I say, you probably would need a copy of the code so you can refer to the articles that we're going to go through today to make a point and use those as references. Okay, so that's what it looks like, and when before the 2018 revision came out, I was of the opinion, or I was of the thinking that that the 2018 will not have any really major changes, but I've kind of changed my mind now after having gone through it. There are some substantial changes in there. Most I think, are for the good, and some of the others, just a couple of them maybe leave me a little perplexed and maybe a little disappointed. For example, they had a couple of tables. I think it's the 130.7C15 A and AB and C, mainly A and B, that were really handy in the 2015 code in terms of referring to them for situations where you need to require PP, and when PP is not required for certain types of tasks or task types. So you could go there, and if somebody has not gone through ARC Flash Incident Energy Analysis, the 130.5 A and G approach, as we'll cover later on. I'm going to cite these numbers, as some of you probably already know who have the code and have gone through it. These are article numbers, and some of those are table numbers in the code. So those tables basically were easy to read and see which, depending on the type task you're performing. Yes, you need to wear PP or require PP, or no, you don't. But you don't see that anymore. It's gotten a little bit murky, and we'll sift through that and talk about that. Those tables now give you different information, slightly different information. That's the only disappointment I have. Other than that, I'm just sharing my opinions and my thoughts with you. Somebody else has other thoughts to share with the rest of the group, please do so. We certainly would appreciate that. So anyway, those are just a couple of points. Let's take a look at the topics we're going to cover. We're going to start off with a couple of statements or information related to the mission of the code. Every project, every program, every document, every publication has a mission. Whether you call it a mission or not, it's really the crux of it, what it really does. What is its purpose? And we're going to cover that. And after doing that, then what we'll try to do is to try to give you a physical perspective of what ARC is. ARC basically, as you'll see, it's nothing but plasma, which is ionized gas, and we feel it when wintertime, when we reach out and shake somebody's hand, particularly in drier, colder climates, and you get zapped. That's a very benign, innocuous, in my opinion, arc flash event. We don't call it that. It's certainly not harmful. It just shocks you a little bit, and startles you a little bit. But it's the same thing. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it could be that thunder, lightning bolt, or whatnot. That can be extremely pernicious. Going to some of the other planets and gets 10 and thousands of times more energetic, these events. So it all depends. They vary from situation to situation. We're going to talk about the arc flash that is primarily related to electrical systems, electrical faults, and so forth. So we'll start off with a little case study here where we'll illustrate kind of an interesting looking arc phenomenon. In that case, it was really not an accident, but we'll cover that. And with each of the case studies, you see that we have 4 case studies. The numbering of the case studies is a little bit off, and it's more correct in the when we get to the case studies. So don't pay much attention to the exact numbers. But there's about 4 case studies in here. Even though here you see 3, they're a total of 4 case studies. And these are actually these case studies are videos that are actually available through YouTube. We only show the still version, and because of different constraints and whatnot, and as we've found that still version is easier to parse through. You can stop it. We basically show different frames, and then we examine them, examine those. What's going on, what's being observed in those frames, and comment on them and so forth. So it makes for a little more productive effort, and so that's what we do. But if you do want to view the video of these particular 4 case studies we'll cover with you, those videos can be seen through YouTube, and we've included the links in most cases in these case studies, so you can actually go online and view the video version of them. But as you do that, just a little caveat, please don't, they have been recirculated and circulated once again and beyond, and who knows how many times they've been recirculated. So a lot of times when people take the original version and recirculate it, they add their own 2 cents worth to it. And by the time if the 4th person recirculates it, the cause of that incident sometimes gets so diluted and so contaminated that you really don't know exactly what happened. And so for that reason, we recommend that you go to the original source of the event and to get the facts. And what we've shared with you are the facts as best as we can find them related to those case studies. So just mentioning that, so if you just were to kind of casually YouTube them and you see a comment that totally clashes with what I'm sharing with you today, chances are that's what's happened. You're looking at a version that's been handed down multiple times with some opinions and comments that sometimes get farther and farther away from the actual facts. So anyway, we're going to talk about, then after we look at the first case study, we're going to get into the introduction of 2018 revisions. We're going to talk about some key articles in the NFPA 70E. Some of those key articles are 2015 adopted and kept or retained from 2015. Not everything got changed, as I mentioned. Some of the things got changed in 2018, and some of the other things, other articles remain the way they were, and yet they are very important articles that were substantial changes from 2012. So we'll go through all of those, basically keeping the heavier nuggets that we need to be, aware of. And then we'll have another case study. We'll take do a closer examination of arc flash and root causes. I think you'll find this particular segment very useful in that I've found in some of the shorter trainings that I do in the industrial arena for employees at different levels doing different types of electrical tasks. Some just do switching, some do actual energized work. We kind of tailor the training to a couple hours, 3 hours, whatever. But to get their attention, I never leave this segment out. And I'm sharing that with you so that if you're doing any training internally or for your clients, you may want to keep that in mind. It's some excellent information. It grabs their attention, and then gets them, basically motivated to learn more about arc flash and implement it. We'll talk about arc flash facts and statistics. We'll get into the electrical shock segment of arc flash code or NFPA 70. So really, if you could